Try it again. Hi, everybody. It's me, Tuxedo Darien here. And today we're going to say, is Sailor Moon and Power Rangers the same, or is there too many differences? Now, when somebody would say, is Sailor Moon and the Power Rangers the same, that might put a question mark up. Some people might say, huh? The first answer would be no. That would be the first answer. And if that was the case, then it would be a very short video. But there are many similarities, but there are many differences. For example, Power Rangers was based and adapted from Super Sentai, a series that Toei still does to this day. Siobhan adapted the Power Rangers using stock footage from Super Sentai. But not just that, they also listed out many other material, including costumes, that they would make their own costumes based off of. Now, you might argue that since it was based off of Super Sentai, there's no way they could be similar. Now, Sailor Moon was inspiration from Super Sentai and Power Rangers. Nako Takaguchi, being a fan of Super Sentai, tried to make a female version out of it, and the female version that came out of it was Sailor Moon. Now, Han Siobhan, to my knowledge, never heard of Sailor Moon. Maybe he did, maybe he does, maybe he knows about it, I don't know. But to my knowledge, at the time, he had discovered Super Sentai and tried to bring it to the United States, and it didn't quite work. And they had to adapt it to be Power Rangers, and there were many times it didn't work, but in 1993 it finally worked. Now, there are many similarities. For example, the Power Rangers and the Sailor Soldiers both morph. Now, they use two different words to mean the exact same thing. Metamorphosis from Hellenic and transformation from French, of course. Both of those are loan words. But at the same time, they use two different words that mean the exact same thing. And the fact that some people will claim that metamorphosis is a slower process, and they would claim metamorphosis as a faster process. They'd claim transformation as a slower process. Now, I don't really know if this is the case or not, but some people I talked to claim that is the case. Now, even though they have that similarity, but use two different words that mean the same thing, they do fight Monsters of the Week. Both shows do fight Monsters of the Week. Now, where the Power Rangers may differ in one aspect from Sailor Moon is the fact that the monsters grow. You see, usually after the Sailor Warriors defeat a monster, the monster is defeated, never to be seen or heard again. When the Power Rangers defeat a monster, it's usually only one form of the fight. The monster then will grow. This will have to get the Rangers to call up their Megazord to battle the monster, and usually after that, the monster has then been defeated. That is usually where the both shows differ in a Monsters of the Week fight. Now, when it comes to foes, the foes are pretty much the same. There are no differences between the foes of Sailor Moon and the foes of the Power Rangers. They both basically want to do the same thing, either murder, conquer, or rule over. Now, they might have different ways of trying to achieve this goal, but they're not really different from one another. Now, the reason I mention similarities is because Queen Beryl brainwashes Darien, myself, Tuxedo Mask, where in Power Rangers, Rita Repulsa brainwashes Tommy Oliver to make him the evil Green Ranger. And this starts a whole mini saga in Power Rangers until they eventually they eventually destroy the Sword of Darkness, releasing him from the spell that was casted upon him. Now, Sailor Moon eventually breaks the spell that was casted upon me as well. This is basically, now many people are going to argue and they're going to claim that this proves that one show is copying off the other. But I really don't know if that's the case. Now, Go Ranger, the series that Mighty Morphin was based it off of, was in 1992 AD. The first season of Sailor Moon came along in 1992 AD, but you have to keep in mind that the anime came out almost around the same time the manga came out. So, in other words, there were liberties, I believe. Nako Takiguchi probably took liberties from that Super Sentai episode. From those episodes. Han Siobhan probably took liberties when adapting that for the Power Rangers. Now, they have many similarities but many differences. For example, the Power Rangers went on to have at least 20 or 21 or at least 22 seasons spanning between Siobhan, Disney, and Siobhan, where Sailor Moon only had about 4 seasons, if you count the English adaptation between Deke and Pioneer. If you count Toei, then you have about 5. If you count Viz, you're going to get about 5 in total after that. But for the original English adaptation, it was only 4 seasons between Deke and Pioneer. Now, even though both shows have differences, there are many similarities between characters, and that's what I'm trying to point out. But at the end of the day, both shows are very similar, but at the same time differ in certain aspects. As I mentioned about monsters growing and the Power Ranger using Megazord to battle a monster, where that doesn't really happen in Sailor Moon, except when Emerald was turned into a dragon by the Doom Phantom. But still, that was the only time in Sailor Moon where, it wasn't actually a monster, it was actually one of the foes. But that's the only time in Sailor Moon history, only time that it was ever done where they had to beat someone who grew big. But that's usually it. Now, a lot of people, before I end this video, you're going to say that, does that mean Sailor Moon and Power Rangers are the same? Well, they are the same and they're different at the same time, and they got many similarities. Between the first 2 seasons, you could find many similarities between the first 3 seasons of Power Rangers and the first season of Sailor Moon. You could probably find many similarities between all the 4 seasons of Sailor Moon and all the multiple 20 or 22 seasons of Power Rangers. If you looked hard enough, you could probably find many similarities between storylines and character development and stuff like that. So that's about it. I'm Tuxedo Max Darien, and I hope you enjoyed this video.